The year is 2022 and the housing market is hotter than ever. So what do you do if you need to buy and sell a house at the same time? There's a couple challenges that come with it. One is moving physically from one property to the next and making that transition. The other is really the money side of the transition. How does that work in buying and selling a house? All right, well, in this video, I'm gonna get into all of that. So stay tuned, let's get into it. So the first thing to think about when you're buying and selling a house is, can you afford to hold both houses at once? If the answer to that is yes, that's actually a really good thing, because when you go to buy a house, if you can't do those things, you have to do a home sale contingency. And sellers do not want to accept home sale contingencies from buyers in this market because it's just an additional risk that they have to take that they just don't really want to take. So what do you do? The first thing is figuring out, do you need a home sale contingency based on your economic situation? So you might be able to qualify for both mortgages at the same time. And even though it might be a little bit of financial stress for a short period of time, as long as you've got enough money to cover it, shouldn't really be a problem. Houses are selling really fast as long as they're priced properly in this market. Usually you can prepare a house in a week or two, get it on the market, sell it within a week or so, and then it's closing within 30 to 40 days. So that's really a fast process for most sellers. Selling is mostly the easy part. The real hard part is making that transition successfully. Let's say that you can qualify for the mortgage, but you don't have the cash. The good news is home prices are up so much right now. That means a lot of people have a ton of equity built into their house. You can potentially tap some of that equity as a home equity line of credit and use that to buy your next property. When you buy the next property and sell the existing one, the HELOC will clear along with your mortgage, so it's all gone, basically, and it's moved the money into the next house. If you can't do either of those things, or you don't want to do either of those things, you can always sell your house on the condition that you can find suitable housing. Meaning, hey, I'm not going to close on this house until I find a house that I like, that I want to move into. And I know it's so important for so many buyers to feel like they're not forced into something or rushed into a bad deal. The housing market is going to be competitive in 2022. There's still going to be bidding wars, but the good news is if you have the right realtor, you can really do a good job on winning the house that you want to win. Now, with a home sale contingency, the farther you are along the process, the better off you are and the stronger your offer is. So what I mean by that is, if you sell your house and you're through inspections, you're through appraisal, and you got the mortgage commitment, you're basically just waiting to close. A lot of people will look at that as a low risk item for accepting your offer. I actually just got an offer accepted last week with that exact situation. They were moving from New Jersey and their house was really basically sold, just waiting to close. Everything was done. The seller really wasn't worried about their ability to close on that house. And we got inspections as well, believe it or not. Anyway, that can happen. And the other thing you can do is a potential lease back. So that means that you sell your house and then you rent it back from the current owner for a period of time. Now, a lease back can be a few days, it can be several months. Sometimes I've seen up to 6 months. And you can always say, hey, I want flexibility in that lease back. When I'm done and I'm ready, I want to cancel the lease back and you take the house. So there's a ton of flexibility in something like that as well. And I've done several lease backs this year successfully. And yeah, one of my buyers waited 5 months to get into his house. So the thing to really understand is, as a seller, you have a ton of power, so use it. Use it to your advantage to make your transition smooth. One of the really nice things about a lease back is you close on that house, it unlocks your equity, unlocks all your debt to income ratio, and you can potentially be renting one house while you're owning the next house and have some time to move in there, which is really helpful. I'd like to tell you a quick story about my clients. I'll call them J and S for this example. They had a townhouse in Coatesville. It was worth about $250,000. They wanted to buy about a $600,000 to $700,000 house, and they were trying to figure out how to make it work. So I toured their townhouse and I said, okay, I think this will sell for about X on the open market. You might be able to get another $5,000 if we took it to market, etc. They said, okay. And then it turned out that I had a colleague that had a buyer that was lined up, ready to go. Now, they didn't quite qualify for the whole next house without selling this current house. They had some cash reserves saved and things, but they really needed to sell this first house. So we had the buyer come through. We actually had a few buyers come through off market, just low stress, really just getting somebody lined up for them. We got somebody lined up, and then they went under contract on what everybody felt was a really fair price on the house. They went through inspections, they went through appraisal, all that stuff, and everything was lined up. Now the buyer knew that the sale of their house was subject to them finding something else. So we were looking around and we found an amazing dream house that they loved. We decided to make an offer. So I talked to the other realtor to find out the seller's situation and see, hey, what does this seller need to do? And she said, hey, my seller needs a few months to find something else. So I need you to give me an offer that gives them a few months to find something else. So we did that, put that in place. Then we notified our buyer, hey, this is when we're expecting to close on this. And we gave the seller of the house that J&S were buying some flexibility on when they could close, and said, hey, if we need to delay it a bit, we can. This situation really worked really well for everybody involved, and they were able to sell the townhouse. I think they leased it back for a month from the buyer, so they had time to transition, cleared all the finances, and then bought the next house. There are a few different challenges along the way, of course, as there always is in every real estate transaction. But at the end of the day, it all worked out. They sold their townhouse. The guy bought that townhouse, was happy, they were happy, and the next guy was happy. So everybody was happy. And it can work. So I hope that story explains a little bit of how you can make things actually happen when you're listening to everybody's situation and finding the right deals and the right people to line up so that it all works for everybody involved. I know I'm throwing a ton at you, but the good news is I'm here to help you through this process and help understand your particular situation and how we can use these tricks and techniques to make it work for you. So that's, I think, important to understand that everybody's situation is a little bit different, and understanding that really can help you make a successful transition from one house to the next, even in the craziest market in the history of real estate. So I'm Rob Lawrence. I'm based out of Westchester, Pennsylvania. I'm here to help you. I'm one of the top performing realtors in the area, so I do this all the time, and I'd love to help you make your transition successfully and get into a house that works for you and get out of a house that's not really working for you anymore. All right, thanks for your time.